are you guys?
Good.
We're good. Thanks so much for volunteering to be interviewed.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy you accepted my offer even after I sent back the answers to your Q&A and they were all one-word answers.
All right.
Oh, this guy seems interesting.
I wanted to get to this. Yeah, I don't care about the preliminary. I'm like, all right, whatever. Let's just start talking.
All right.
So do you care to introduce yourself?
Sure, I'm Ross. Other people sometimes call me DJ Rossstar, depending on where you know me from. I do interviews with musicians. I've done that for 18 years. But then I'm also a stenographer, and those people just know me as Ross. So I have like my Superman Clark Kent alter ego. So it can go either way.
You should have a stenographer people call you DJ Rossstar as well. You were.
I'm trying to explain to them. I'm trying to explain to some of my coworkers what it is I do and I've done, and sometimes they're interested and sometimes they just don't care at all, which is fine. Not everybody likes music as much as I do and you do.
That is true.
All right, so we are curious about how you're handling the quarantine. So first, can you let us know what you were doing before all of this started? Just like set the stage, paint the picture.
What else can I do? I've been in school for X amount of years. I went back to school after trying to work in the music industry, and I just got frustrated making $30,000 a year no matter how many years I worked at a company, which in LA is completely unlivable in every way. So I went back to school. So I found this sub career called CART, C-A-R-T, also known as real-time captioning. So I work with deaf people, mostly students. It ranges from elementary to junior to high school to college. I also do work in court sometimes for a specific client that needs the services, like a juror or a defendant. I also work at meetings and also like city hall type stuff. So every day, some of my classes were scheduled. So a couple of days a week, I'd go to the same location or locations. Sometimes I'd go to 3 colleges in a day, a lot of driving all over the place. And other times it would be like a one-off gig and I would drive to downtown and do a 3-hour meeting or drive to Santa Monica. So basically 3, 4, 5 days a week, I'd be driving all over the place, almost like a truck driver. So the first thing that changed when we got quarantined is I no longer had to drive anywhere, which is really cool because I was doing about an hour to an hour and a half each way every day, 4 to 5 days a week.
That's rough.
And you grew a mustache, which looks awesome, by the way.
At what point did you realize that this shit was serious? Like, okay, I'm not going to be able to go physically to these places anymore.
Well, I was one of those people that were worried early on. I was keeping track of the China stuff. I just kept hearing about coronavirus. What I thought was shocking was I have a few friends that flew to Vegas for 3/11 day. And this is like right before lockdown began in San Francisco. I think it began on the 15th and LA was like a few days later. And at that point, I remember thinking, I warned them a few days leading into it. I said, this is probably going to be canceled. I think Coachella was canceled already and Stagecoach was already canceled. And they were flying there from New York, from Amsterdam, all over the world to 3/11 day.
And those 3/11 fans take that very seriously. That's like Christmas.
And you know what? I couldn't believe it. They went and 3/11 played all 3 nights to like thousands of people a night. They didn't cancel it. They didn't. Yeah, so I think pretty much that was the last big festival like on Earth that happened before they shut it all down.
On all of Earth, yeah.
I'm not a big 3/11 fan, so I didn't like want to go to that, and I couldn't. But I just remember they all went and they loved it. They had a good time, and then right after they headed back immediately because that was my one friend who was from Amsterdam. He lives there now. He had to fly back a day early because they were about to restrict him from being able to fly back.
That's insane, yeah. So he missed the last night of 3/11?
No, he saw it was the day after he left.
Okay, good. All right, good. Because 3/11 fans very serious, and they do not want to miss any 3/11 shows.
No, so I'd say mid-March is when it got real to me. I don't think it got real to other people till the end of March.
Yeah, and how did your job like communicate this to you? And what is your job status now? How are you making it work?
Well, the first 2 weeks, it sucked because they needed to train every instructor on Zoom. And a lot of those people had never heard of Zoom. Some of the professors were older or they just have never done anything like that. I had used Zoom a lot with my students. When I couldn't be there, I would do like remote classroom work. You know, sometimes if you can't make it to a class, you can do it from home and use Zoom, and that would be like the alternative. So I knew how to do it, but I had to sit here for 2 weeks doing nothing, waiting around because they all needed to catch up. So that, what sucks about that is I lost money for 2 weeks, you know, and I'm a contractor, so if I don't work, I don't get paid, but I also can't file for unemployment because I'm not technically unemployed, because right now I am working still. So for 2 weeks.
In LA, so
yeah. So for
LA's crazy living.
So for 2 weeks, I did Postmates and DoorDash, and then it started to freak me out, so I'd stopped doing it. So the first week and a half, I did still do it a couple hours a day, but then it just kept getting stricter and stricter. Everybody wanted you to leave the food at the door. You know, all the restaurants were limiting you one at a time to go in and get your food. So I said, this is not going to be worth it, because, you know, when those delivery apps are good for people like me, where like supplement income, like especially in the summer months when I don't have like a job because all the schools are out of session. But you're spending money on gas to do that, and you're putting, you know, wear and tear on your car. It's only out of like desperate need. You know, if you need $100 today and there's nothing in your account, you can just do DoorDash and make that in 4 hours. But when it became clear that it was like an actual risk, I figured it's not worth it, you know, and I stopped doing it.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, man, I did Postmates out, and when I was out in Vegas, I was making great money. I'm like, wow, I'm gonna get back home and keep doing it here. But here, no one tipped me ever. And I'm curious if they're tipping now. Quarantine's going on. If that's
I would hope so.
I definitely would hope so too.
I hope better.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping at all.
Yeah.
One time my LA stories, you know, Michelle Rodriguez from like Lost and the
big Lost fans over here.
Yeah, so I delivered to her. She ordered like 2 juices from one of those like fancy juice places, but the total was like $9, and she tipped me like $17. So that was a really good.
Dude, that's awesome. She probably recognized you from back in the day from your band.
No way.
Like, oh, DJ Rossstar's delivering me my juices.
She's like, wow.
That would look really delivering food. That'd be really sad if I was. Wow. And then actually, I'm looking at your shirt. I'm looking at your shirt. I also delivered like a bunch of juices and syringes.
So
they call them.
Trent Reznor.
To him and his wife, yeah, but he didn't open the door. I think his wife did, so I didn't get to meet him. But
no way.
I remember that day well. I remember that day well because I have other friends who are fanatics and they wanted to know his address, and I don't give out that information, so I'm like, I can't tell you, man. Sorry.
Do you have to like sign stuff that says you can't do that? I would imagine.
No, but you can just lose your job easily. But I mean, I don't even remember where it was. Somewhere in a nice area, but I don't remember what that tip was. But I've gotten some good tips. No, it was nice, but I've gotten like $20 tips, $30. Probably the most I think I got was like 40 on Father's Day or something.
That's interesting. I never thought like you're in LA packed with celebrities. These people got more money to blow than stingy people on Long Island.
It all depends on,
like they're all winners out there, so they're tipping more.
It all depends on the person. I've delivered to Compton and Inglewood and Watts and the poorer areas in LA, and they'll tip you $10. And I've delivered to Rodeo Drive type people, and they'll give me nothing. It's just the person, not whoever rich they are. Anyway, sorry, that's like a question.
So before quarantine, you're living in the same place that you were. Are you in a house?
Yeah, right. I wish. No, no one can own a house in LA unless you're a millionaire. But the cheapest homes are in the ghetto, and they're $850,000 for 1-bedroom houses. By the way, in case you're home shopping in California. No, I've been in the same apartment. I've been in the same apartment since 2004. So thankfully, I have rent control.
Okay.
Do you still have the couch?
Yeah, I've got everything. Yeah, I got everything. So we have rent control.
Has been there.
Yeah. Awesome. No, we got all the same stuff. So we have rent control. So thankfully, I can afford to live here. Otherwise, it's like insane, just like it is to live in New York City. It's basically like neck and neck at this point. So
got it.
Even though I have rent control and I pay a little bit less than people that move in here tomorrow, there's no rent freeze in California. You still have to pay the rent. They had a system here where you could delay it, but you have to pay it back. There was no like, don't worry about the rent. Like if I waited, I'd have to pay it back at some point, and I didn't want that interest to hold over me, you know?
Yep.
Next thing you know, you got $50,000 they're asking you for, like, oh, hey.
Exactly.
You remember that rent from when coronavirus was going on? Like, you live in LA, you must make an obscene amount of money, you know? Give us that back.
So it's very scary. I mean, I know a lot of people that aren't working now because they worked in entertainment and there's just no work to be done. That's why there's
Oh,
like 22 million
absolutely.
people on unemployment or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. So would you say the amount of time at this point that you're spending working is a lot less?
Um, Yeah, well, luckily so I'm a contractor, so I got with a new agency, thankfully. So I have like three different agencies simultaneously. So I'm working right now. I am working Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and the times range. I'm just looking at my notes here. Like Mondays, I'll be on Zoom 10 to noon, then 1 to 2, then 6 to 8. Tuesday 9 to 10, 11 to 12, 2 to 3.
Driving in LA is a nightmare.
Yeah.
That traffic is insane.
Yeah.
I don't know how you do it. So I
And
don't
gas
blame
is like, yeah, and gas is like cheap. Gas is cheap now because it's cheap everywhere. But normally
Yeah.
it's about three. The cheapest normally is like 349,
Yeah,
359.
you burn all those gallons sitting in traffic for 3
Yeah,
hours.
I have to fill up every 2 days because I'm driving 100 miles each way, 5 days a week, 4 days a week. My main job is like out almost near Ventura, which is like an hour away. So I drive there and back, there and back. So
How has your mental health changed from before quarantine to now?
I feel like it's less stressed now that I have a work schedule. When I didn't the first 2 weeks, then it was like crazy because I was worried, and my parents worry about everything because they're from New York. So, they were
Yep.
immediately like, "What are you
I
gonna
know about
do? This is
that.
crazy."
Yep.
They weren't mad at me. It's not my fault, but they were like, "Look, you're already a contractor. You have to work, or you don't get paid. Like, what are you gonna do?" And so that made me more stressed. But then it worked itself out. So, like I said before we started recording, my classes go till maybe the end of May, middle of May. Once they're done, then I won't necessarily freak out about money, but I will start feeling other people like how they feel, like kind of just bored. Every day is the same. There's really no structure. I like having something to look forward to. I like having, you, hold on, you wake up at like 8 o'clock and it's like, okay, I have class at 9 o'clock. Let me go for a jog. Now it's like noon. Let me make lunch. So when there's no structure whatsoever, which is what usually happens in the summertime, then I'll start probably feeling a little bit more stressed because, you can't do anything. Normally I would like, go to the mall or go to the movies or do Postmates or go to a park, go to the beach, go anywhere, go on a hike. You're literally not allowed to do anything in Los Angeles right now. And
Yeah,
they
that's
claim
crazy.
Most
they
places.
claim that they claim May 15th is when the ban is going to be lifted, but I don't believe that. I just think that's a way to keep people from rioting and going crazy and
Yeah,
hurting themselves, knowing that the reality is it's going to be next year.
exactly. People they should be afraid of riots if they're like, you're gonna be trapped in your house for this long. People are like, all right, get to the gun store and let's go nuts.
I'm not a doctor, so I can't really tell you when it's going to be over. I have no idea. But what sucks for me is the things that I like to do are things that are big gatherings, like concerts, of course, is my favorite thing ever to do. And I love going to shows and bars to see like the cover bands and stuff when they have them. I don't really care about just going to a bar. It's kind of boring to me. But going to a bar where they have cover bands or going to a real concert, going to the movies I like, which is like way too many people now. We had all these plans that we were going to do, and then they got canceled. We were going to do this like crazy distillery tour they have in downtown LA that's really famous now called Lost Spirits. We had to cancel that, of course. We were going to go to Point Break Live where they acted out on stage. That got canceled. So I feel like even if
That's
it's
awesome.
lifted in May, there's
It's
going to be
not
nothing.
awesome that's canceled.
There's going to be nothing to do still. There will still be nothing to do. Like, because like right now you can still order food to go. Okay, maybe we'll be allowed to go to the beach. That's cool, but everyone will go to the beach. Whatever's open, everyone will do. Everyone will go get a haircut.
Have you seen any of the artists that you love get creative, and like have you watched any like live stream videos or for anything like that?
What's funny is like my favorite thing right now is the comedian Jeff Ross, and I think he's hilarious. I watch all the roasts. I've gone to see him live like 3 times now. I've been roasted on stage by him. He's doing this
He was at the
Instagram
Paramount
now.
recently, right?
He's doing this thing. He just did it a half hour ago, or he goes on once or twice a week, and he'll be on Instagram. We'll talk to you, and he'll just have random people watching go onto the video chat, and he'll roast them. It's amazing.
I saw that.
I have not seen that, but it sounds amazing.
My friend Vogue was on American Idol he went on there screaming his trap music, and he was on that. And I'm like, dude, how'd this happen? He's like, oh, Jeff Ross is doing this thing. I'm like, that's cool.
That's amazing. Yeah, like, I don't know. It's funny because a lot of the bands I like have been going on, and I'm not going to name names because some of them are doing acoustic, and there's these songs are not meant to be played acoustically. So
Mm-hmm.
I watch them, but I'm not like freaking out where like I'm like, oh, this is so good. I'm like,
Right.
okay, it's cool, but like,
Yeah.
I want to hear like, is it like punk bands? Like, you want to hear it the way it's supposed to
Yeah.
sound or not at all?
Have you seen
Um,
any that you liked? Any that we watched Post Malone last night, and I thought it was
that was
good.
actually pretty cool. Yeah, I was
Yeah,
never a
you
big
watched
Nirvana
it.
fan, but I did like that. Yeah,
I'm a
well, you told
big
me about it.
Nirvana and Post Malone fan, so
Yeah, you told me about it, so then
yeah.
I went to
I was
check
like,
it
oh,
out.
we
And
can't do Friday. I have to watch Post Malone's live
We have
stream.
plans.
Sorry.
yeah, he was slightly better than Puddle of Mud.
Yeah, I watched that today. It was
Yeah.
a big letdown compared to
Slightly
yesterday.
better.
Well, what sucks for me is that my favorite band is Green Day, and whenever Billy Joe goes live, he doesn't know what the heck he's doing. It's like not he goes live and he'll talk to the people for a little bit, but he doesn't like perform or take questions.
Yeah.
He really is like
Got
he's a
it.
boomer in the sense that he has no clue what he's doing, what he's
So
pressing.
Green Day, if you're listening, step up to the plate, get
Yeah.
a little live show going
That's a
on.
bummer because a lot of their songs translate very well acoustically.
Well, he's been doing a lot
Yeah.
otherwise. He did Fallon, and he's doing James Corden this week, and he did a couple of those benefits. Billy Joe, like playing acoustically from his home. So it's
That's
cool to
very
watch
cool.
those, but they're
Okay.
not live. They're just like on TV or on
Well,
YouTube.
now's your chance to try to grab an interview with him, I think, since you
I-
picked that back up, right?
No, that was what I was trying to say. He's so bad at it. I don't think he would. I don't think he even knows how to do it.
Doesn't know,
But,
doesn't have an email.
So what's funny is, yes, I started doing my live interviews again. I did my show from 2002 until 2017. And I don't want to be like conceited, but I actually literally was the first like live interview show on the internet that people actually like weekly listen to.
So we're
And that's
basically
like,
we're pretty much ripping you off right now. We're just like
well, no, I'm not saying that, but
I'm a
you know,
musician
like,
and he's an interviewer, so it's
Yeah,
being
yeah.
reversed.
got it.
Whenever you're the first to do anything, usually no one cares. They don't because
Yeah.
people
They
will
only
like
care
yeah.
for a
copy.
second.
People will
Absolutely.
like copy you, or people will
That's
copy you.
across
being
the board
smart.
in like
Yeah.
all of the business
Everything.
world. Yeah.
Second person always gets
Yeah.
remembered,
Yeah.
becomes a legend after they rip off the first person, do it slightly
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
Like I'm not into like screamo and post-hardcore, but like I feel like the band Thursday. I feel like they were the first band doing that sound, and then everyone kind of copied them,
Yeah.
and they all got big, and Thursday never got big.
Thursday
Yeah.
never got huge. I mean, they have their cult following, which is awesome that they're still able to maintain.
I mean, you could see what these
but
people
they're
are
nowhere near as big as
doing.
all the other bands who are
Yeah.
doing their same style.
Yeah.
You see what
So
they're
anyway,
doing.
so-
You're like, okay, this
Yeah.
is going well. This is what I think needs to be updated, and then you move
Exactly. So I never. So I did it for a couple of years on iTunes, and then on a website called Adobe Radio, which is still around. And then I would join Stickum because that was like the cool scene thing to do.
Yep, very.
And then I
very
joined.
cool.
Then they shut down, and I did Ustream, which is okay. Then my last year, I got a real studio in Hollywood at Meltdown Comics, and they had a network called XSN, and the guy who ran it used to run Stickum. So he was like, "Hey, do you want to bring your show out of the apartment for the first time ever and do it like with a green screen and in a big studio, and you can have an audience?" So I was like, "Okay, cool." So I did that for a year, and it was cool. I had like a bunch of cool bands came on, like The Living End and the Rocket Summer. So it was good, but even
Bryce
then,
Avery.
yeah, Bryce came over.
Oh my God.
Um,
I was obsessed with him in high school.
Who's that? Sounds like sucks.
I'm fangirling right
Poppy.
now.
So it basically all came to a screeching halt, honestly, when Instagram and Facebook launched the live feature. That is what killed my show and killed many shows like mine.
Yeah,
Because all of a
absolutely.
sudden, a band no longer had to coordinate with me 1-2 days a week to drive in rush hour at 7
Right.
o'clock to do a show. They can just go live anywhere from their
Yeah.
van, from the bathroom,
Mhm.
from the road. So immediately, I was going from B C-list artist to Z-list. And
Like me.
which is my viewership was going from 40,000 live viewers to like 40. So after a
Yeah.
while I said, look, it's not that I care about only interviewing big stars, because many of my guests weren't big when I interviewed them. They just became big.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
it was
we had
just
some
it
real
was
big
hard.
names.
It was hard for me to coordinate because like I was working now as a stenographer. I had to like deny jobs on Wednesday and Thursday nights just to do the show, and then I would drive there and travel. It just didn't seem worth it. So I just kind of fizzled out and I stopped doing it. And I missed it. And every so often I would do like stuff for my friend Steve's website, Bionic Buzz. So we went to Back to the Beach Festival and I interviewed like Story of the Year and Real Big Fish and all the bands that I know. And, and we put them on YouTube. But the live show is what I've always loved. And that's why I never did podcasting. If I did, maybe I would have actually made money and been successful. But I'm just not into the idea of a recorded, no offense, of like a recorded show. I like it live. I like that anything could happen. Anyone can ask anything. There's no editing. There's no structure. That I think makes for the best interviews, my opinion. So
I agree.
Now that everyone's doing this on Instagram Live, I was like, hey, I didn't even realize this was like a feature. Jen told me this. I didn't even know that you can interview somebody on there with a split screen. I thought it was just one-on-one. So
that's like a couple months, maybe even longer. That's been around.
I just didn't pay attention to it. So I started out with my friend Craig, who's just in a local band called Film Speed, just to test it out. And then I had my friend Nick on from Bayside, Kevin from Ghost Town. So I had Kevin from Ghost Town, then Less Than Jake, Ballyhoo, Zebrahead, a newer band called I Don't Know How, but They Found Me, popular with the kids. They were on. Yesterday was Nick Rossi, who's in Three Teeth, industrial band. Tonight's the Dolly Rots, and now I'm just doing it. Now I'm just doing it 2 nights a week. I don't want to overkill it. If I do more than 1-2 days a week, I'll run out of artist to interview. Especially because a lot of these people are doing it themselves. A couple of bands I interviewed never responded, and it turns out because they ended up going live themselves, so they just didn't want to ruin the surprise, I guess, for anybody. Yeah. So that's how I'm doing it now. It's like if they don't ever go live or not that often, I reach out. So like. This band tonight, the Dolly Rots, are really popular, but they've never gone live on Instagram, so we're going to do that together. And then next week I have Unwritten Law and Scott Russo. He's never gone live on here. A lot of people, after they do the show with me, like Less Than Jake, now they go live themselves all the time, and that's cool. I like watching it as a viewer, But I just do it because I'm trapped here in quarantine, and I like 2 hours a week being able to talk to somebody else and talk to like people watching all over the world. That's why I love doing the show forever, So
have you tried asking Green Day?
No, at this point I'm only asking people that I know, because with Instagram it's really hard to get a response unless they follow you back. Because if not, it goes into their DMs and they'll never see it ever, because there'll be like a zillion messages that they don't read. So
I don't see a downside to trying.
You gotta hope when you're doing Postmates that you deliver to Billy Joe's house. Yeah. You gotta happen that way. You just gotta pull the phone out and just go for it.
He lives in Orange County, so that's not going to happen. But people, I've heard stories online. People have done that before, gone to his house by him delivered. So like I'm going through people I know, and it's fun hearing their quarantine stories, finding out what these artists do that go on tour, 8, 9, 10 months a year every year, that are finally home and they have nothing to do.
We're all driving Postmates right now. That's what's going on.
So
I feel like we're just at the beginning of the creativity that's going to come from all of this. Like there's got to be more ways that artists start like releasing their albums and like interacting with us.
I prefer it. I mean, of course, I prefer the live show. Who doesn't? But instead of nothing, this is pretty cool. I'd rather them do this than nothing. I know Stagecoach this weekend is doing Stage Couch, where the biggest artists that we're going to play are going to go live and do stuff on the Stagecoach page. So it's like fun. The sound is never like amazing, any live stream I watch, but what do you expect? It's the internet.
I've been enjoying like getting a glimpse into their homes too. It's like
the Global Citizen Festival that they did online. It's like a bunch of people from their houses, a bunch of people I've never heard of except for like Jack Black. But I'm very lost in my own little niche.
John Legend.
And that's just my opinion. I still, in my opinion, I like doing interviews. I've seen people do it themselves where they're just looking at the questions and they're reading that. And I just feel like, I know if you're like a super fan, I know if you're a super fan, you don't give a shit, you're just excited, but I feel like it's not pleasant to watch. Like it's more fun to have a conversation and you can slowly.
Totally.
I think that's
I watched
with all these bands going live,
Yeah, I watched Pierre from Simple. I watched the singer of Simple Plan. He did one, and he was just talking and reading the questions, and it was cool because he played a bunch of songs. But it's awkward, they stop and they're like looking. And
it's like you see him holding the phone up like this, like, wait, what I miss? What I miss? Why does everyone keep telling me weird things that make no sense? Why isn't someone here just ask me normal interview questions through the phone, face to face, like DJ Rossstar did back in the day and is doing right now?
So that's what I'm doing. I do the stenography part-time and I do my show part-time, which is what I always wanted to do, but I was never able to find a way to do it. Once I didn't say this before. Once the internet took over with the live stuff, I stopped doing my show, partly because the studio I was in shut down.
Oh,
Like
wow.
it was inside of Meltdown Comics, which is like the most famous comic store in LA history, and they went out of business. They completely closed the store and the studio. So I said, I'm not going to go back to my apartment now and my shitty equipment and do a show again like that. It's like, I was over it. So I just was like, it was a buzzkill,
Yeah,
the whole vibe,
Absolutely.
the whole vibe.
So
But now I'm back and I feel excited.
are you like trying to take this time that, we all have sort of like found time at this point, but are you trying to take it and hone more into the music stuff? And like, have you like set goals for yourself? Like what are you hoping to achieve?
I'm not hoping to achieve anything, and that's why this is way more fun than it was originally. I'm having way more. It's like when a band goes on like a reunion tour, and it's like just for fun, and then like they never like do it ever again.
Yeah.
Like
no expectations.
I moved here when I was 22, right out of college. I wanted to be the next Carson Daly or the next Matt Pinfield from MTV. I did a show out of my little apartment. I got people like Katy Perry and Fall Out Boy to come over. I had a good viewership online. I ended up meeting with MTV and Fuse and VH1, which is awesome because I never had like a famous parent or anyone that worked in the business to do this for me. I just did it from my show.
It's so hard to get there by yourself.
Hell yeah.
That's like impossible without that connection.
They gave me the harsh reality. They said reality shows are in, interview shows are out, not a chance. If you came here 10 years ago and you said you have a show in your house, that could have been a show, but now no chance. And I agreed. I wasn't offended. I grew up watching Tom Green's show, and there was another show on MTV called Oddville that was like kind of like DIY interview show.
Like
so
Steve's Untitled Rock Show stuff.
Yeah, that kind of came about. That came about a year or two after mine, and that I couldn't be. I wanted to be jealous, but I wasn't because Steven was actually a really cool guy. He wore my DJ Rossstar T-shirt I used to sell. He wore it on Fuse like 3 times, like during a show. He was always a big supporter of what I was doing, so it was hard to be mad.
OG.
Cool.
So so that was the
thing.
Second
one comes, as you said, the second one.
Yeah, I had a good run initially. I got a job at Warner Records because of my show. I got to sing on a Bayside record because of my interviews. I got thanked on a bunch of records, in the liner notes, which was exciting as a music fan. But ultimately, like I said, every job I had behind the scenes, I made no money. And I was never able to monetize my show. I have some regrets like everybody. I should have did the YouTube thing. I should have probably put them on YouTube after. I probably should have did podcasting, but I didn't at the time.
YouTube was just starting at that time, right?
Yeah, but the thing is that I have friends and people I know that also did interviews and did things like me, and no one ever made it big or made money. So it's not like I missed out and made a mistake. Like no one ever succeeded at it because it's not. I think it's interesting if you like musicians and interviews, but if not, then it's like, whatever. So it was never like a huge market like someone on TikTok dancing. They're like,
Mike and I talk about this all the time, but that's like the biggest challenge for anyone that's trying to do something creative. Like there's no guarantee of payment. If I could like restructure society and make it different so that people that are trying to be creative are at least gaining minimum wage instead of working for free, I would do it.
Oh yeah, well,
the liner notes.
It's awesome.
Yeah, this is like my wall of fame. You can't really see it. So these are some of the albums I was thanked, and there's Real Big Fish, Census Fail, Pierce the Veil, New Year's Day, Newfound Glory, Versa Emerge, a couple other smaller bands. So that was cool. I mean, being a pop punk fan in the late '90s, growing up on Long Island, to being thanked on a Newfound Glory album is just like mind blowing to me. So I have this like,
cool.
But yeah, so I'm just doing this for fun. I have no expectations because I really don't think there's anywhere for people. I'm just enjoying doing it. It makes it more fun.
Right.
Trying to talk
Most people in music are in music for the passion, not the money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really not that good unless you're in like the top 1%.
Yeah.
No, and that's like, people are like, oh, podcasts, you should have did that. But the people that are the biggest podcasters were already famous for something else.
Yeah, right.
That and
I know Joe Rogan, like,
but Joe Rogan was
was
like
doing UFC
the
stuff.
2008 Did he start
He
late?
started a little bit later, but
Yeah.
he's.
I mean, but he
2009?
was like, you know, he did Fear Factor and then he did the UFC
Right.
stuff, and that's what people knew him from UFC.
Yeah.
So that's
And
why
his
they went over to
stand-up.
his podcast.
So
Yeah,
he's
and his
very-
stand-ups. I've yet to
Very
see a
known.
podcaster who's a random kid who's like a millionaire
Make it,
now.
yeah.
So that's why I said I'm just interviewing my friends now, or not. I'm not going to say friends. I'm not name dropping. I really don't have any actual like musician friends. I guess besides you, but people that I've interviewed, people that I've built some sort of relationship with beyond just having them come over. You know, going out to the show and hanging out with them, or maybe they've been over 5 times, so we could joke around or text each other. So that's why it's just fun. So like I said, next week I have Unwritten Law on, and I know Scott, and then Lit, AJ from Lit.
Oh,
like
that's awesome! I saw
he's
him
gonna-
not too long ago. He
Yeah.
do pretty well.
He's gonna
Pretty
call in
impressive.
on Saturday. He's been like the nicest guy to me ever since I started the show. Him and the other guys have like been probably the most real, nicest dudes. Like every time I'd go interview them, they would take me to dinner. Like one time they gave me their hotel room for free to keep, like when they had early. Like
Awesome.
always like they own a bar in
That's,
Orange County.
That's
They
lit.
own, they own a bar in Orange County, Lit, called the Slide Bar. The whole band does. So whenever we'll go down there, sometimes I'll just text them and AJ will come because he lives behind there in this like big house. He'll
That's
come and like
awesome.
hang out for a bit. So
Big shout
I'll
out
let you
to Lit
keep-
for taking care of our boy over here.
I'll let you keep reading questions. I know I have to do my show soon anyway. So
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So
we're rounding the end.
after all this is done, how do you see your life changing? What do you think is going to be different for you? What's the permanent impact for you?
maybe I'd go to more concerts. I wouldn't say, oh, I'll see them next time around. That's something I'd
That's
want
a
to do.
great answer. We have not heard yet. That before.
Yeah.
Well,
that's
the
true.
last show we went to was like Kiefer Sutherland band, which is awesome, in December at the Troubadour. But then, you know, there's a lot of like, we complained forever that there were no cover bands here. Like you go to other cities and there's like 5 cover bands playing every night. But now there's like a couple of them in LA actually doing it. And every time they'd play, we'd be like, oh, tonight we're going to go. And then we wouldn't go. So now I'd want to go like do more live stuff, you know?
Yeah, no, that's a great takeaway. Like if you have things that you want to do, it just plan for it, go for it, do it, because you literally never know what's going to happen. We couldn't have predicted that there's a pandemic coming.
I mean, they haven't
that's
canceled,
awesome.
they haven't canceled it yet because they're waiting, but there's definitely not going to be like the Green Day Weezer tour this summer. I don't see how that's even humanly possible.
I don't think anyone's touring this summer. From my
I think everything's done deal.
That I might have, every tour is getting pushed back until at least October right now.
That's if you're lucky. Yeah, because a lot of these tours haven't canceled, but they're playing these like sporting places, and like the sports aren't even taking place till like October, so because they can't have an audience, you know.
And they're hoping October. They're not even sure. They're just rebooking and hoping.
But yeah, to answer your question, I don't know. I mean, I guess I'll just keep working remotely from home. There's always classes and meetings that need to be captioned, but I'm still, like I said, going to take that hit. But the stimulus check does help. We're getting $2,400 soon, so that's nice.
Absolutely. So any words of advice to anyone that went from a job that was high travel to now working from home? Any advice on how to set your routine, keep yourself motivated?
I don't know. I guess what I said before, I'd make like a schedule. Even if it's like a stupid schedule that doesn't really mean anything, just try to stick to it. So like I wake up, I eat breakfast, and I go jogging because if I don't run in the morning, I won't do it. Then I shower.
You're just talking about that.
Then I shower. Then maybe I'll do a couple classes. Then I'll go for a midday walk, or instead of running, I'm walking. Then I'll come back, and then I'll maybe do another class. Then I'll eat dinner. Well, I try to save movies / TV shows for after dinner. Don't sit there all day watching TV.
Yeah, it's easy to fall into that, especially
really
now. It's like when I came in the house, it's Saturday, and Netflix just put out a whole new season.
I try to limit that stuff for the nighttime. Maybe we'll play video games in the middle of the day. So there's like a gaming hour and then the movie hour. I've never been good at being home. I never liked it. I always went out. This was really hard for me, but it's not as hard as I thought it would be. I have other friends, like my friend Chad, who lives in Queens, who hasn't stepped out of his house since the 14th of March because he's just terrified disease, and he has no.
There's a lot of people like that who's like
He's miserable. His whole life is spent going out every night of the week, karaoke, going to a bar, going to dinner, going to the movies, going to a concert. So this is like hell on earth for him, you know?
Yes, definitely a lot easier for those of us that are more introverted.
Yeah.
But you know, it also helps to like, you know, I'm lucky that I have like, you know, we have like everybody here, like we have the animals too, so there's stuff to keep ourselves entertained. Some people live alone in LA in a studio. I have no advice for you. That sucks.
What you got? Give us a rundown of your animals.
We have the cat and the dog, Bodie and Lucifer.
Bodie and Lucifer.
Yeah, so they're a lot of fun. They're not very loud, which is nice. The dog barely barks, which
Are you still taking the dog out for walks and everything?
Yeah, I just have to wear the stupid mask. You have to wear
Does the dog have to wear the mask?
You do have to wear the mask. Please, everyone, wear the mask.
Is the dog wearing the mask?
It's like freaking. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you do. You know what? I guess I appreciate you more in Slipknot bands like you that wear masks on stage. When it's like 100.
I am wearing 2 masks now.
Yeah, I don't know how you do that. I can't even freaking go to the mailbox with them with the mask on.
Yeah, it's tough, but it saves lives. Yep.
Yeah, well, good. I give you props for that then.
All right. Well, thank you so much for hopping on. Is there anything that you would want to plug right now?
Yeah, plug your stuff. Where can everyone see these new interviews?
I'll plug 2 things. So there's a really good Instagram page called Women in Stereo. So it's women, plural, in stereo. And they feature all different female-fronted artists, not just rock. It's like every genre, rap, R&B, pop rock. And they started doing live interviews also, like once a month. So that's a good one to follow.
What is your involvement with that? Because that sounds amazing.
I'm a big fan. You got to check it out.
Big fan. Okay.
They're doing a live stream on Friday, which is why I'm not going to go live on Friday. So I'm going to watch that.
Cool.
So they're really good at the live stuff.
I'm clearly very into that.
Yes. And then I am at DJ Rossstar with 3 S's. And I mostly post stories of the cat and what video games we're playing. And if I'm watching a crappy horror movie like last night. But now I'll be posting, I'll be live on Instagram doing my interviews. That's where I'm doing the show every Friday and Saturday. And less noted, like next week is Wednesday and Saturday, but it's mostly Friday and Saturday.
That's great.
I don't know when this will be posted, but like I said, the Dolly Rock's on, the Lit, Unwritten Law, the Get Up Kids are on in 2 weeks.
I will get
all the hits
posted this week for you, just to make sure.
So yeah,
so I'll be posting and everybody like, I want to see these. Oh wait, this happened 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, so DJ Rossstar and then Women in Stereo are the 2 Instagram pages to check out, and that's really it. And just I guess stay positive. I mean, I guess I used to think I was like, I don't know. I guess before this happened, I thought I was crazier than I am because I've actually handled this pretty well. Makes me feel better about myself.
Yeah,
I've heard like some terrible stories.
Glad to hear it. Yeah, glad
awesome.
you're doing well. Glad you're able to focus more on the music stuff. It's great.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, thank you guys for doing this. And then hopefully if you're free in an hour and 20 minutes, you can watch the live feed that I send to Mike every time. And he always writes me back 10 hours later. Whoa, what's this? I missed it.
Awkward.
All right. Now I have to pay attention now because you gave me
completely under the bus.
Yeah. I mean, you're not going to know the Dolly Ross. You're not going to know the band tonight. It's not like your thing, but like maybe you'll like it. They're kind of like Bowling for Soup, like with the girl singers.
If you want to get Nick Rossi back on, I'll talk to him. I know him.
Oh, Nick's my actually, that is like my real life friend like you. I should have said that before.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
it's great talking to you. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.